Oh, there we go. Now y'all should hear me. Okay, I was muted the whole time. I should have checked to see. Here we go. I got to say all of that all over again. Let me take it from the top. I got to answer PayPal's question, right? PayPal, basically, so yeah. The chicken and rice cravings is a result of you wanting more satiating meals. So when you're doing a raw vegan diet, raw meals, especially if it is more on the fruitarian side, these are filling meals, but they're not necessarily satiating, meaning that you don't stay full for very long, right? So fullness and satiation are two different things. All right. So satiation is how long you feel full and satisfied. And then fullness is just the overall feeling of fullness in that moment, right? So the more satiating a meal is, the longer it'll sit on your stomach and it'll take you longer to become hungry again. Whereas fullness, you can be on a raw diet and feel really full, and then like an hour later you're ready to eat again. You got a ravenous appetite, right? But definitely supplementing with the B12 and all of that type of stuff, you know, it's a good idea generally speaking. You know what I mean? So yeah, vegan knowledge. JJ, what's going on? Good to see you in here. We got to give a big shout out to the matriarch of the tribe, D after 50. Give D a shout out. Right, we got Gigi in here. Big shout out to you, Gigi. Good to see you tuning in. If you get yourself on the schedule, right, so we can chop it up. All right, Dexter, what's going on? Good to see you in here. We got Jay back in with all the thumbs up. There we go. All right. See, this is why I need y'all in the show. I got to do the sound check. I'll be on this stuff with no sound coming through. I'll be doing these little hiccups. Tell you, you know, producers. This is why people have producers. You know what I mean? Noir Baharian. What's going on? I feel like I messed that name up, but I hope I didn't. I hope I said it right. What's going on, G. Ellis? What's going on? Good to see you back in here. All right. Okay, now, okay, all right, we're all set here. See, I had to run that back, y'all. What's going on, Miss Dom Unique? Good to see you in here. Welcome back. Welcome back. Tyler, welcome back. Good to see you in here. That's right. Precious, Roland. There we go. What's going on? Good to see you in here. Welcome back. All right, I appreciate y'all. You know, I said I gotta watch the chat so y'all can tell me what's going on and make sure I'm right out here. Cole, do you use creatine monohydrate? Absolutely, I love creatine monohydrate. That is one of the few supplements that I would actually suggest. How do I stop being so hungry all the time? You might be under eating, to be quite honest. Your meal portions might be a little too small, right? So you might have to increase your portion sizes if you're hungry all the time, right? Yes, run it back, please. Yeah, you know it. I was like, we had a take two tonight. All right, so. And I got myself on the second screen here. Make sure I'm running smooth. There we go. All right, it looks good. Yeah, I got my chlorophyll water in here tonight. And tonight, what I'm going to talk about is how to guaranteeing muscle growth. We're going to talk about how to guarantee muscle growth, right? Because there's a lot of opinions on the internet about how to build muscle, how many sets and reps you need, and all of these little techniques. We got supersets and drop sets and ultra giant sets and upside down sets, reverse sets, right? We got back up sets, back down sets, right? We got all types of methods: isometric holds, eccentric, concentric, slow moving, fast moving, barbells, dumbbells, cable machines, resistance bands, all kind of stuff. So it can be kind of complicated. So I'm going to simplify the process as much as possible because it's not really that complicated to build muscle. It's we overestimate how much effort we actually have to put in to build muscle, and we overestimate how much of certain things we need in our diet, right? So I'm going to talk about that. Let's see here. And can I ask your eating window? What is my eating window? I don't really have much of an eating window anymore these days. I mean, my eating window is wide open. It's like from, right? Eating hours or office hours is like 8 to 8. It's pretty open. Yeah. Fasting taught me that what I perceive as hunger was actually just cravings all along. Yeah, you got to know the difference between, you know, when you need to eat and when you just want to eat, right? It's two different things. Any interest in Mike Menser's low volume, high intensity philosophy? Actually, yes, it has. His methodology and his explanation, I think, has been the most accurate as far as what actually builds muscle mass. That's what I'm actually going to talk about tonight. His methodology, it's worked for me personally. I mean, I've tried high volume and I've tried really low volume. And quite frankly speaking, I switched to high intensity training. And, you know, the current physique that I have now is straight up a result of me doing like very low training volume. I don't train that often. I don't do much training volume at all. Okay. And you know, it's interesting because, and I look jacked as hell in a tank top. You see, I'd be wearing them shirts with all the long sleeves and everything like that. I'd be looking, be hiding all the swoliness going on. You know what I mean? I've been hiding all of this going on here. But yeah, so, you know, I know a thing or two about building muscle mass and strength and all of that type of stuff. I've been nearly 200 pounds. I've been I've gotten down as low as to like 145 pounds, right? I've been up and down and all around, right? I've done powerlifting, more conventional bodybuilding style. I've trained with resistance bands only, body weight training 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And I usually, whenever I follow any particular methodology, I will do it for a minimum of 12 weeks and like a maximum of like a year. So when I test a particular method, that's my time frame. It'd either be like 12 weeks or a whole year. Right? Trying to eat more for muscle gain, how do you make the body accept more food without feeling stuffed? You should not force feed. Don't do that, because that is how you get fat. All right, that's how you end up increasing your waistline more than anything else. So you don't want to do that. All right, don't force feed, because you don't need to eat as much as you think. What is the best way to build lean muscle and burn stubborn fat? I'm going to get into that. Your body is always tapping into fat to one degree or another. All right. Let's see. I figured based on your previous streams, the little gems you were dropping. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I say things generally speaking, and then I can get into more specific circumstances, right? Because, one thing can work very well for you, and then that same thing can work very poorly for you, depending on what your current circumstances are. Right? You do need to switch on and off with your approach to things, right? So basically, let's talk about how to guarantee muscle growth. The general consensus for a long time, and most popularly, has always been you need to eat as much protein as possible. You need to eat big to get big. You need to train high volume, right? Because as far as muscle hypertrophy, muscle growth, volume is king. And if you increase training volume, you will have more muscle growth. Right? These are some of the common things that are most believed. Right? And a lot of that is not necessarily true. So, for example, there is a limiting factor that puts a low ceiling on us. Probably not a low ceiling, but it's low enough, and we underestimate it, excuse me. I don't care how much protein you eat within a given day. Just because you eat 140 grams of protein does not necessarily mean you're going to get 140 grams of protein worth of muscle growth in that given day. It's not how it works. You can eat all the protein you want. Your body's only going to use how much it needs. And how much you need is largely, for the most part, very overestimated. And your protein needs will change from day to day depending on what you've been doing. Right? This is one very interesting thing that I've learned, because I was doing alternate day fasting where I was eating 4 days a week, and I was still getting stronger and gaining muscle mass while dropping body fat. So my fat mass was decreasing and my lean mass was pretty much staying the same. And there wasn't really much of a movement at all, even though there were 3 whole days where I was not eating. I was doing 3 36-hour fasts a week. 12 weeks straight. And having a lean mass of like 140 pounds and then dropping down to a lean mass of 138 pounds in like 3 months, 12 weeks. Meanwhile, overall body weight dropping like 15 pounds, 16 pounds, 20 pounds, right? And that was really eye-opening for me. And then doing the alternate day fasting, stopping doing the alternate day fasting, going high raw, which almost entirely raw, having a protein intake where pretty much it was like 1 gram, 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass, gaining back like 10 pounds within a matter of like 2 weeks, and my body fat percentage staying the same. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute, what? These are experiences that I had, and it changed everything I thought. Because I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, these numbers, I just gained back 10 pounds, my body fat's the same. Right? And, you know, you learn that the reason why that works is because, yeah, when you do something like that alternate day fasting and you lean out, your insulin sensitivity increases and your body is hyper responsive to muscle protein synthesis and storing glycogen. Your insulin sensitivity is ramped up big time. Your body over responds. You become a hyper responder to the nutrition that you consume after doing that alternate day fasting. See, when you're constantly eating and shoveling food into your gut, things will really slow down, right? So here's the thing. I've had people, I've had guys particularly come to me and they say, I've been plant-based. I've been trying to really maximize my protein intake, get as much protein as I can. And I've been eating a lot of tofu. I've been eating a lot of beans. I've been eating a lot of, what is that called? That textured vegetable protein, TVP. And, I'm starting to get gassy and bloated. I feel really uncomfortable. I don't really have much of an appetite, but I'm trying to struggle to get the food intake in order to gain the muscle mass and whatever. I need help. And I'm like, you've been doing, first of all, stop the force feeding because you're packing your gut. And the thing is that there's a capacity limitation and there's a time limitation. Just in the same way with training, yeah, you can only recover from your training. You can only recover but from so much training. You can increase your training volume if you want, and you can recover from that training volume. But the thing is, you don't recover enough to really build any substantial muscle mass. Because there's multiple phases to recovery, and people really have to talk about this. You can recover all the way, or you can recover enough to be able to train again, right? You can recover to the point where you become stronger and you gain more muscle from when you last trained, or you can recover just enough to continue doing what you were doing. There's a choice. Your body is always storing nutrients. Your body stores all the minerals and the vitamins and things like that. Your body stores amino acids inside your lean muscle tissue and all that type of stuff. Your body stores calcium and potassium and all types of stuff. And so you're eating foods, and day by day, your cells and your bone marrow is just storing all these vital nutrients, right? Your body's really good at doing this. And then when it's time for those things to be deployed, your body has those substances, right? It's very important to understand that. This is the reason why you don't really need to eat on a daily basis. You don't. I would do a 36-hour fast, get up and go train. Fasted after fasting 36 hours and have a phenomenal training session. Well, how's that possible? You haven't eaten in 36 hours. Your glycogen stores are completely empty. You haven't had any protein yesterday. How are you training well? How are you gaining strength? It's because if my last eating day was Monday and I train Wednesday, my body is going to be running off of the food and the sleep over those last several days from Monday, Tuesday, and then up until Wednesday. Right? It's not like you eat and then your body just burns through and runs through 100% of all the nutrition you had yesterday. It doesn't work that way. So it helps to decongest your gut, right? So alternate day fasting, I'm a true believer. I do that once a year, right? For 8 to 12 weeks. I only did it for 8 weeks this time. And that was because I dropped down to like 148 and I was like, that's too much weight loss. I'm good. Right. I didn't particularly feel comfortable dropping down to like 146 or whatever, 145. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And maybe I could have, and I would have been fine, but I was like, yeah, I'm good. I made my point. I've dropped some body fat. I feel good. It's time to knock it off. Okay. So yeah, this is like the 1 year, the last 2 years, either the last 2 or 3 years, I did the full 12 weeks. I think the first time I did it, I actually did 16 weeks. And then the next 2 after that, it was 12. And this time was 8. But in any case, when it comes to building muscle, the thing that builds muscle is the training. It doesn't matter how much protein you eat, and it doesn't matter how much you force feed. In fact, force feeding will just make you fat. So when people say, well, in order to build muscle, you got to be in a caloric surplus. And it's like, well, it depends on how you define a caloric surplus. Depends on how you define that. Right? calories are important, but the thing is your body will burn calories regardless of whether you eat or not. Your body will have the energy to do what it wants to do. What you need is the vitamins and minerals and amino acids and all of that type of stuff as the building blocks of new cells to drive recovery. That's what you need. Your body's fine when it comes to calories. Your body's going to burn however many calories it needs to burn regardless. If you want to build muscle, it becomes vitally important, even more so. Recovery is the most important thing. So, for example, basically, when you go to train to build muscle, the thing that triggers muscle growth is a perception of a threat. Okay? When you go and you train, you work, you push your muscles really hard. As you push those muscles harder, they become more and more fatigued. That muscle fatigue is a threat. Because and the more fatigued that muscle is, the further away from homeostasis that muscle is. Your body perceives that as being a structural threat, and it will hyper respond to that fatigue. And that triggers muscle growth. Can y'all hear that? It's like all type of ambulances and whatnot. Your body hyper responds in the same way. If you do like the alternate day fast, like your body will hyper respond to the food you eat, and you'll just absorb your food and everything like that, and your digestion will just be tremendously improved. You have no idea. Your body hyper responds to these extenuating circumstances, right? Building muscle and training is the same thing. Now, muscle protein synthesis will be ramped up in accordance to that muscle fatigue. And your body hyper responds, and then will build that muscle back thicker and stronger than it was previously. And your body will build new motor neurons. Your body will build new muscle fibers. Your body will build thicker muscle fibers. The sarcoplasm of the muscle will expand in order to make room to facilitate the enlargement of the actual muscle fibers, the myofibrillar fibers of the muscle, and all of that kind of stuff, right? So there's all of this growth and changes and whatnot that happens as your body responds to what it perceives as a threat, which is that muscle fatigue. Now that takes like 1 or 2 days, maybe 3. Right? So you want to give it time. The reason why people think that increasing training volume, like doing more sets and doing more reps, leads to greater gains, is because they say, oh, more muscle stimulus and a more muscle fatigue leads to more muscle growth. That can be true. It just depends. If you do 3 sets or 5 sets or 6 sets or however many sets you do, the only thing that really matters is the amount of stimulus and fatigue you end up with in the end. Right? So for me, why would I do 3 sets or 5 sets if 1 set is enough? So if I train a muscle and I push that muscle real hard and I achieve a maximum stimulus on that muscle, okay, well, the goal behind the training is to cause that stimulus in the muscle. So if I've achieved that stimulus, why am I going to go do it again? I've already done it. I've achieved the stimulus that I wanted in order to trigger muscle growth. Why would I do it again? See what I'm saying? There can be a benefit to doing it again. There can be. You don't have to, but you could. And depending on the circumstances, it is beneficial. It depends on how advanced you are, and depends on how often you do it. Right? I've done 1 set. I've done 3 sets. I've done total volume of 2 sets a week on a given muscle group. I've done total volume of 6 sets a week on a muscle group. There doesn't really seem to be much of a benefit in prolonging the 3 sets. If you're going to do the 3 sets on 2 exercises, leading to a total weekly volume of 6 sets. You can do that, but do it maybe for like 1 week every month or something like that, or every other month. You don't need to constantly do it every time. Right? These are things that I've personally experimented with, but it really depends on where you are. But for most people, 1 set, maybe 2 sets is enough. But ultimately, you want to push the muscle as hard as you can in order to trigger that growth and then let the recovery process happen. So it's really, you hit the muscle really hard and you back off and you just wait. You just wait and go through the full recovery process before you go at it again. Right? That's really what the deal is. Now, you have to be clear on what your training is. So like, let's say you're like, I want to build muscle, I want to gain weight. Building muscle and gaining weight are kind of 2 different things. When you say gain weight, what kind of weight are you looking to gain? Muscle growth is really slow. It's a really slow process. Doesn't really happen that quickly. You can gain, let's say like a man in their 20s, maybe 30s, can gain 2 pounds a month of lean mass. So you can gain a full 24 pounds of lean mass in a year. You could. It's very hard to do because you have to be really, really, really on point. Little to no mistakes. But more than likely, you're going to gain within a year 12, maybe 16 pounds. For a woman, it'd be around 8 pounds a month, 8 pounds a year, maybe 12. Right, that's what I've seen. Now, the thing is that if you gain 8 pounds of muscle, it's very noticeable. Like 8 pounds of muscle looks crazy. It's a very big difference. But this is the course of a year. Now, given that, let's say you wanted to gain weight. Well, how much weight do you want to gain in a year? That's what you have to keep in mind. If you're going to gain 24 pounds of muscle in a year, you might gain a total of 30, 32 pounds or something like that for the whole year. That's a lot of weight gain. 30 pounds is a lot of weight. People don't really understand what that looks like. 30 pounds is a lot of weight. So for me right now, if I was to gain 30 pounds, I'd look ridiculous. My neck already looks short because of my traps. Right, so like for me, I got like these WWE traps. They're ridiculous. But that's a lot of weight. I know for me, I was almost 200 pounds. I hit like 193. Maybe I've gotten a bit further than 193 at one point. But I was like, I don't know, 16% body fat. It was probably even maybe a little higher than that. Because I got to a point where I can only see like 2 abs. I was getting a little up there, and I was ripping pants and all types of stuff. You know what I mean? I was ripping the armpits of shirts. I would wear a suit jacket and I would reach out to shake somebody's hand, and the sleeve would come up to like here and all of this. It looked crazy, right? Clothes start to fit ridiculous, right? Shirts be all bunched up in the armpits and everything like that. Pants be all bunched up in the crotch and all of this. And then your glutes be too big to fit in the pants, and so you got to wear the pants at a larger size. And so now I fit more comfortably, like in between 160, 165, right? That's kind of where I am. Now, if I was to drop down to like, 150 or something like that, I could do 150, like 6% body fat or so. And that, and that's really good, right? Just to give you a perspective. So getting an accurate idea of what weight you're supposed to be at, right? That's important, right? So really having that assessment phase. But if you want to gain weight, what you really have to think about is getting stronger and gaining that muscle mass. And you got to have more of a long-term vision to do it. So if you're like, I want to gain weight, and you're giving yourself like 12 weeks to gain weight, you're not serious. It's a year-long process at least. So you better buckle down and be ready to be really consistent for a full year. You got a 1 year minimum to put the work in. This ain't like weight loss where you just want to cut the fat. This is if you're trying to build Muscle mass growth is crazy because you're literally building a ton of new cells. You're literally adding to the infrastructure of your body. That's insane. Right? Your body is making more of you. And muscle mass is very metabolically active. Okay? Very energy intensive process. Now, when it comes to what's preventing people from building muscle, it's not protein intake. Oh, you're not eating enough protein. It's not that. It's not even that you're not eating enough food. You're under recovering and you're doing too much. You're training too much. That's really what the truth is. You're just training too much. I'm at the point now where I'm like, I feel comfortable. I enjoy training every other day, but it makes more sense if I wanted to maximize my gains. I should be training with 48 hours in between each training session, because that's when I actually perform the best, is when I do 48 hours between training sessions. I would just train more frequently just for peace of mind, just because I like doing it. It's not necessarily advantageous to do that, though. And quite frankly, the more rest days I take, the better my sleep quality gets and just everything improves. It's not really that much of a benefit to training frequently. People who do train every day, they're plateaued. They're not seeing any more progress. They just do it because it's just a lifestyle thing that they like doing, but they're not growing doing that. And they've adapted to being able to do that. But the thing is, they have a low ceiling. If they're trying to grow and improve, they're going to have to take more rest days. That's just the truth. Now, you can train every day, but it depends on what your training looks like. But what you can't do is you can't maximize for muscle growth while training every single day. And you can't keep that up for a few reasons. First of all, your sleep quality gets worse. You start to get burned out. That's number one. Number two, your nervous system takes longer to recover. Skeletal muscle can recover a lot quicker than your nervous system. And your nervous system, particularly when it comes to your motor neurons and everything like that, your central nervous system, once that gets fatigued, you got to just give yourself time. You got to give yourself a few days. You got to just back off. Because if you don't allow your central nervous system to recover, you end up gaining excess body fat, your cortisol goes through the roof, your sleep quality keeps getting worse, you end up having a little erectile dysfunction or vaginal dryness, all types of stuff. Like, things just go downhill. It throw off your libido, you start missing your menstrual cycle, things just go off the rails. And then you start getting weaker and losing muscle mass. This is what happens when you do not allow your central nervous system to recover. And you can't eat your way out. It's not like, oh, well, I'll just eat more and that'll speed up recovery. No. Because the problem is not a lack of food or resources. The problem is time. Time. So people gamble, right? Well, I can get away with getting muscle growth and train 4 or 5 days a week. You can, but what if you can get the same results or at least close to it while just training 2 or 3 times a week? Which one would you rather do? Now, imagine you are a business owner or you have a professional career with a lot of responsibilities. You're married, you have kids, gas prices are high. Well, how much gas do you want to burn driving back and forth to the gym? How much time do you want to spend commuting back and forth to the gym? How much time do you want to put in unnecessarily? Do you want to see the progress and the growth, or you just want to just be working, you slaving yourself? Which one do you want to do? I don't want to do more than I have to. So the question is not, well, how much work do I need to do? Is how little work can I get away with doing and still get the results and the progress I want? So under recovering. And I know a lot of bodybuilders. I know a lot of professional athletes. I've worked in gyms and whatnot the majority of my adult life. And the thing that ends up happening to all of them is they get burned out. All of them. They all get burnt out, especially the women. They all end up having, just hormonal issues. Hormonal issues hit women super hard. This is very important to understand. If you're a woman trying to build muscle, it's very important to understand the hormonal implications to hard training. So you have estrogen, you have progesterone, and then you have your cortisol levels. You have these different hormones. Now you have this beautiful hormone, progesterone, right? And that's very important to have at a significant level, because if your progesterone drops too low, estrogen rises and compensates. If you have excessively elevated estrogen, that's a result of your progesterone collapsing and your cortisol levels increasing. Now, as your cortisol levels increase, essentially what can happen is you end up gaining more belly fat. Your face can be puffier. You get poorer sleep quality, loss of libido, hair shedding, thinning fingernails, irregular menstrual cycles, even more heavy menstrual cycles. These are the types of things that can happen because you're just slaving yourself in the gym, right? So the point that I'm really trying to emphasize is give yourself more rest time to recover. And you don't need to just shove tons of protein down your throat. 1 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass on training days is enough. Keywords: on training days. You don't need to do that on non-training days. You just really need to do that on training days. Right? So if you're going to eat in a robust fashion, primarily you're going to do that on training days. But if you decide to have the 1 or 2 rest days, those rest days, you can be fully raw. You can focus on more water-rich foods. You can focus on your juicing, your herbal teas, things like that. And so your rest days is all about recovery foods, right? Having foods that are very powerful in antioxidants, your kiwis, your strawberries, your leafy greens, your nettle tea or hibiscus tea, you know, your cucumber juice, watermelon, cantaloupe, right? Things of this nature, right? And that's really good at keeping your body fat in check as well. You don't really have to eat big on rest days. Actually, you really don't need to do that, right? Let me get into my workouts. I'm gonna show y'all a little bit about my workouts and what I did today. Out of every time I've ever gotten in really, really good shape in my life, I've done it by training outdoors. Every single time. I've felt the best and I've had the best results training outdoors, out in the sun. It's every single time, hands down. It's one of the greatest discoveries. So let's take a look at what a max effort looks like. It's like when I talk about max effort, right, that high intensity, here's what that would look like here. Right, so exploding up, coming down slow. This was like my first exercise right out the gate. I did a posterior full body day. Right, so I'm really fighting on the way down, really working. Now you're gonna see each set is like a minute long, roughly. And I'm starting to slow down a little bit more. But as I get more fatigued and I slow down a little bit more, I fight to come down a little slower. And I try to get every single rep. I'll rest in the bottom position, get that full hanging stretch, and pull. So now the form is starting to break down, but I'm not ready to give up. Right? But once I start bending the knees and kipping the legs, that's how you know, oh, the form is breaking down. Right? Boom. You see the looseness in the legs and all of this. I'm losing the form. But I think I got one more. So let's go for that one more. Boom. That one looks sloppy. Maybe I can get one more. Look at the legs. Oh, the kicking. All right, that's enough, right? Enough with the kicking. Right? We don't want to be out here kicking. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to come up real quick and come down real slow. I want really solid, good, clean form. And what I want to do is I want to take that one set as far as I possibly can until the form really breaks down. When I'm not able to do the exercise with good form, I start kicking and carrying on with the legs like a child hanging from the bar. That's when I'm like, all right, it's time to stop. That's how. And so basically, there was a point in time where I was fairly deconditioned. Getting on the pull-up bar. I got like an issue in my right elbow with my bicep tendon on my right side. So I really had to ease off with the pull-ups. I had to do supinated grip. I'm pretty much recovered and healed from that. I had to do some rehab. So when I got back on the pull-up bar, like 7 reps was like really difficult. I was like, damn, I'm weak as hell on the pull-up bar. Damn, what happened? Because I was doing all the rehab, I wasn't doing any pull-ups. I was just working with the bands and whatnot. Now I'm up to like 18. I hit 18 today. Right? I've been taking my time. Now I can actually do, if I do just, if I don't do them slow on the way down, I can probably hit like 25 pull-ups or something like that, or maybe even 30. I don't know. I can just be cranking them out. But I do them real slow, coming down slow like that, as a way to really train my overall strength. Now the thing is, when you train the eccentric phase of a movement, which is the eccentric phase of a movement, is where you're producing force while simultaneously lengthening the working muscles. So like say if I'm doing a bicep curl, the concentric phase is the shortening of the bicep muscle. The eccentric phase is when I'm producing force but lengthening the bicep muscle, right? That's a good way to think about it. So if, let's say you can't do pull-ups, you can't do like one pull-up, you could jump up starting from like a full bar to chest movement, and then slowly lower yourself and then jump back up again. And you can keep doing that for each rep until you can't like fight your way down anymore. So you could do that, and you build up your pull-up strength doing that. Basically, you're just doing pull-ups like in reverse. You're not really doing the concentric phase because you're just jumping up in there and starting from the top and then lowering your way down. I do this with a few exercises, right? So like, for example, I'll do this with back squats or something like that, right? Where I'll load obscene weight on the bar and then just focus on lowering, just getting down. I'm not trying to stand back up with the weight on the bar, but basically just lowering down in the back squat, coming down real slow, fighting the bar, fighting the bar, fighting the bar. And I have the safety pin set at the bottom to catch the bar in the bottom position, so I can just bail on the weight and then strip the plates off the bar, re-rack it at the top, load the plates back on, and do it again. And I'll do like, 3, maybe 4 reps with a weight that's like beyond my 1 rep max, right? That's like a good strength technique, the eccentric phase. If you train the eccentric phase of a movement, there's a lot of strength gains to happen there. Muscle mass primarily is a safety mechanism. That's how your body, that's how your muscle is structured. Your muscle of your body is primarily protective. So you can resist way more force than you can produce, right? So force production is the active concentric phase of a movement, where force resistance is the eccentric phase of the movement, right? So if you can't produce the concentric phase of the movement, like in a pull-up, you can do the eccentric phase, the lowering, and you come down, you lower real slow, slow, slow. You can count like 4 seconds in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, hell, 5, 6. Really work it, right? And then you keep doing that to the point where you get up there and you just immediately sinking down like a ton of bricks, right? Like a sack of potatoes. Like you just, right? It's like a fart, and that's how you know you're done. And you only need 1 set. You don't want to give that max set, fry the muscle, and then go and do it again. You don't need to do that if you can't do 1 pull-up. So that was the first. I do 2 exercises per muscle group, right? So here's number 2. Y'all gonna love this one, right? So I know I'm showing off a little bit, but these are relay rows. This is meant for max tension. So I'm going to pull all the way to the hip. I'm going to fully contract the muscles, and then gradually I'm going to lower one at a time. So there's tension on the lats at all times. I'm maximizing the contraction of the lats, right? So I'm fighting the whole entire set. So my nervous system is lit up like a Christmas tree when I'm doing this. Because what I'm doing is the arm, I'm not just holding, but I'm actively pulling while fully extending the other arm. So I'm stabilizing my torso and all of that. And it's, again, max effort. right? And I'm just pulling hard. I'm fighting against the band the whole entire set, right? I love any relay exercises. You can do this relay exercise with overhead presses. You can do it with bicep curls. You can do it with tricep extensions, anything, right? Where you're just changing hands. This is one of the most phenomenal exercises. Let me tell you, I feel this. If you have a difficult time feeling a particular muscle group, this is where it's at. You will feel every single muscle fiber. And I feel my lats going all the way down nearly into my hip and all the way up into my armpit. The whole entire thing, right? So just max effort. Just 2 exercises. So pull up. So basically for your lat exercises, your lats, right? Your latissimus dorsi. And your latissimus dorsi does 2 particular joint actions. Scapula, so depression of the scapula and retraction of the scapula, right? So the pull-ups is the depression of the shoulders, right? So I'm pulling my elbow closer to my midline. That's what my lats do. My lats pull my elbow to my midline. So now the further away my elbow is away from my midline, the more my lats are stretched out. And all of this has to shorten and pull my elbow to my midline, right? And then if I'm doing rows, it's more of a shorter movement. And again, pulling the elbow to the midline, but scapular retraction. So when I'm doing the rows, what I'm doing is I'm depressing the shoulder and then I'm retracting the scapula, really pulling, right? Those are really the only 2 joint actions that your lat muscles do. So you really only need 2 back exercises. Just 2. You don't really need much more than that. So that's how I train my back, and I do 2. And I do the relay one is because I want to maximize the lengthening of the lats, the eccentric phase of the lats, the concentric phase of the lats, and isometric. In the isometric movement, isometric meaning there's not a lengthening or a shortening of the muscle fibers. It is a resistance. You're preventing movement altogether. Right? So when I'm pulling and holding, it's an isometric hold. So I'm basically really putting an emphasis on every aspect of the mechanics of that muscle, right? That's some solid training. Aside from your lats, you have your trapezius in the middle of your back, right? You have your trapezius, which is like this diamond shape going down the middle of your back. And then you have your rhomboids that are like on the back of your scapula and they tie into the shoulder and all that type of stuff, right? So your rhomboids and your trapezius, they assist in scapular retraction, scapular depression, scapular elevation, and all of that, right? So when you hit your lats and then you also hit your rear delts and all of that, as well as hitting, what am I talking about? So yeah, basically your rhomboids, that assists in all of that, but they're mainly assistance muscles, right? So you got muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles in your back pretty much, right? So very big muscle group. So this is the next exercise we pivot to here. Right, so you can see the trapezius right in the back. Right, so I'm big on back thickness. That looks crazy. Right, the high pull aparts. Right, that's essentially what this is. High pull aparts. And I'm basically just really focusing. I want to retract my scapula, my shoulder blades as much as possible. So you can literally, I'm, my back kind of looks like a diagram of like the human anatomy, right? You get to see all of those muscles, right? And peep the fight. This is max effort. So you can see the rear delts working, the trapezius, all of that, right? My back kind of looks like a face. Right, so you see all of those muscles working. This is not so much like a lat exercise. It's more so right across the shoulder girdle. So going right across the shoulder blades. This is more like an upper back kind of thing. All right, so max effort. So you see that fight at the end. All right. I was a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right, as a kid. So, you know, growing that turtle shell back, you know, the cobra back, some call it. That pull apart is no joke. That's like one of my best back exercises right there, right? Um, and that's really good for your shoulder health. So like I don't have shoulder injuries because of all of the scapula and shoulder work that I do with the external rotation and scapular retraction. So if you're one of these people where, you know, you're kyphotic, your shoulders, you're all kind of like this here, and you got to really focus on pulling and pressing the shoulders and retracting the scapula, really opening up and getting more of that external rotation at the shoulder joint and that scapular retraction and opening up, right? Squeezing those shoulder blades. Further capitalizing on the pull aparts, right? We want to do external rotation of the shoulder. So you have these little tiny muscles that are inside your shoulder, right? Where they're rotator cuff muscles, right? And there is like 4 of them, right? And it has an acronym called SITS, SITS. So you have your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, your teres minor, and your subscapularis, I think it is. So there's 4 of them, right? That's like going old school. It's like they ask you about that on that personal training exam. So your shoulders, your rotator cuff allows you to do all of this shoulder movement. Your shoulders are very easy to injure because they're very mobile, right? They're capable of all kinds of movements. So you have to train all of these little stabilizing muscle groups, right? So I'm a big fan of face pulls. So that brings us to the face pulls, right? And so basically from here, and I backed up too close to the camera. And so I want to point my thumbs back. And really what I want to focus on doing is not just pulling the elbows back, but also pulling the thumbs back to the ears. Right? That really hits the trapeze. It's good. You see, I got like striated traps. All right, so you can see how those muscle fibers, what direction those muscle fibers run. Right, so this is a big shoulder health. This is one of my top like shoulder exercises. I'm a big fan of this right here. And fighting real slow, that slow eccentric. Right, really working that slow eccentric of the movement, and I slow it down even more so towards the end of the set. And I'm pulling, fighting. It's all about effort. And the thing I like about the resistance bands is the effort. I mean, you can put just raw effort. And there's like no risk of injury. So you can just go 100% on every rep to really feel every single muscle fiber working. Right, so you see I'm working here. I can't even really pull, but I'm fighting. See, that's the kind of fight. If you want to know if you're training hard enough, you got to really fight the band. Right, and pull. Right. And that pretty much wraps up all of that mid back and upper back work, right? That wraps all of that up. And then for my traps, for my upper traps, in order to put some girth on my neck and really build up the top portion, the yoke, right? To build up the yoke, right? This is the deterrent, right? We all kind of know, don't act crazy with somebody who has a big neck, right? Or thick traps. Don't act crazy with somebody who got a big neck, right? Because that's not going to be an easy altercation. So it's a good idea to work on your traps, fellas, to build your yoke. And in all seriousness, though, building your traps with something like shrugs, right? This is really good. Let me mute that. This right here is a really good exercise in general for improving your neck health and longevity. And I'm not just training my traps with this, but I'm also training my grip. So as I'm pulling the shoulders up and really retracting all of those upper fibers in the trapezes, those upper trapezes and the scalenes and everything, all those muscles that run up the back of the neck, I'm also really tightening my grip and squeezing the bar, right? So tightening my grip and really squeezing the bar and holding, right? So this is a longevity exercise. I don't have weights to just walk with and do farmer's carries. So this is, if you, the two best exercises for your yoke, your forearms and your trapezes and whatnot, it's either going to be farmer's carries or shrugs, right? I like to alternate between the two. But this is fine because I don't have weights that I bring with me in my bag to walk the boardwalk, right? But grip strength is a determining factor in longevity, right? So it's, and if you have, the more grip strength you have, the stronger your shoulders are and the stronger your neck is, right? So upper body strength in large part is determined by your grip strength. It's where a lot of it starts, right? So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was the 5th exercise. So I'm 5 sets into the workout, 5 sets. Now I'm done with the upper body stuff, right? So now this is full body. So it's, we start from the top and then we work our way down. So now we start getting into hamstrings and glutes, right? So I got these ankle cuffs and I got the resistance bands that I connect to the ankle cuffs. So basically these are standing hamstring curls, right? Squeeze, hold, and really work the hamstring. Point the toe, squeeze, hold, squeeze, really letting the hamstrings work as much as possible, right? So I'm keeping tension on the hamstrings at all times, right? Really feeling the hamstrings. Building your hamstring strength is a very, very big deal. You want to have strong hips and glutes, you got to build your hamstrings, right? And your hamstring strength will affect your posture a great deal. If you want to avoid things like varicose veins and knee pain and stiffness and poor posture, all that, strengthening your hamstrings is a big deal, right? Now you can see I'm starting to fail a little bit with the hamstrings here, but I'm pushing the 1 set all the way to failure, right? And I do this on both sides, just 1 leg at a time. In my current phase of my training right now, when it comes to lower body, a lot of it is going to be 1 side at a time, right? Because I have a bit of an imbalance between my left and my right leg. So I train my left and my right leg separately, right? So after I really target the hamstrings and really work the hamstrings, then I switch to a Bulgarian deadlift, and this is like a single leg deadlift, right? So I'm kind of getting more of the glute activation involved here. Right? I look kind of goofy like this. I'm trying to put my foot up. All right, so yeah, basically 1 leg with the deadlift, and I'm really just focusing on, I'm not trying to really fully extend the hip. I'm trying to keep the tension on the hamstring. So what I'm really trying to do, your hamstrings operate where they work 2 joint actions. They assist in hip extension and they primarily do knee flexion. So the first exercise was knee flexion. This is more hip extension, but I'm focusing on the stretch. So I'm not training with this exercise. The reason why I'm not standing all the way up in a straight line is because I'm really focusing on targeting the muscle in its weakest position, right? Which is like right there, right? So really getting that stretch in the bottom and then just pulling, really activating the glutes. And the reason why I'm separating 1 side from the other is because I'm trying to hit my glute maximus and my glute medius at the same time. Your glute medius is the muscle on top of your glute maximus, which stabilizes the hip joint. It's what allows you to stand on 1 foot. So if you can't stand on 1 foot stably, it's either because you have poor stability in that foot or you have poor stability in the glute medius. Usually it's because you have poor stability in the glute medius, which is the muscle that sits on top of the glute maximus. when you want like full round glutes, you want to really train and develop the glute maximus, but also the glute medius is that shelf portion, more of that top upper portion of your glute. And that's where you have your glute medius and your glute minimus, which is the glute minimus is right at the top portion, and it's a much smaller muscle. But these are stabilizing muscles, right? That stabilize. They produce adduction at the hip and stability at the hip, right? That's primarily what your glute medius does. And that's it. So that's me training my glute maximus, glute medius, and my hamstrings. Now my second training day, I have an anterior training day. I work all of the muscles on the front of the body, right? So I can go over that at a later time when I record that on my next training day. But essentially, I do most of my lower body work on that day. I don't want to hit like glutes real hard on both days like that because I'm kind of fry the crap out of my glutes doing that. So I major in lower body on my anterior day and then not so much on my posterior day. So on the posterior day, it's full body training all the muscles on the back of the body. So calves, hamstrings, glutes, lower back, mid back, upper back, right? And so I just go up the chain. And then, of course, biceps because you're doing rows and pull-ups and things like that. So that's pretty much it. And then on the anterior day, that's when it's like quadriceps and then glutes again, and then abs and chest and shoulders, and, of course, triceps by default. But my anterior day is more leg focused because that's when I have 2 different variations of split squats and then a full squat altogether. So it's like 3 lower body exercises. Right, so that is where I have a bit more leg work on that day. So I delegate them differently that way. I would also have a phase where in my posterior day, I would add, like, for example, if I go to the gym, I would add barbell hip bridges. So it would be barbell hip bridges, single leg deadlifts, and then leg curls. And that would be like the 3 lower body exercises, right? I think that on this next anterior day, I'm still training back squats. So I have to go in the gym and train pause back squats. So I do single leg extensions, Bulgarian split squat, and then pause back squat, where I sit in the bottom of the back squat. And I sit in there for 2 to 3 seconds and then stand up on every rep. The reason why I do that is because it's a phenomenal core workout, number 1. And then number 2, it's such a good way to really hit your adductors and your glutes and really work on your ankle mobility. I mean, it's really a therapeutic and a functional exercise. So I'm basically sitting in the bottom position with this weight compressed on me, and it allows me to get into this really, really deep, stretched out squatting position. So it's a really good way to improve your mobility. So I really use back squatting as like a mobility exercise more so than like a quadricep dominant exercise, right? In the bottom of that in the bottom of the squat, I can really get this really acute stretch on the hamstrings and the glutes and the adductors, right? So I sit in the bottom, breathe and brace, get really comfortable, push the knees out and whatnot, and really get comfortable in the bottom of that position. And work on lengthening those muscles as much as possible, and your body hyper responds as far as growth, right? So how I really blew up my legs and got thick, meaty thighs, which I got to work on building my calves, because, you know, the bigger your thighs get, the smaller it makes your calves. And I'm not genetically gifted as far as calves because my calves sit pretty high up. I got this long, springy, elastic tendon connecting to my ankle and running up the back of my leg, and then these little ball calves, right? But in any case, that exercise is really good for building up your glutes and hamstrings and quads and really filling out your hips and thighs and whatnot, right? So I've always stuck with that, and then really trained to have a strong overhead press, right? So what I'm doing right now is what I've been at pressing 115 pounds for a while now, but basically with the barbell doing overhead presses with 115 pounds, and my goal is to try to get to 10 reps comfortably. So I keep going into the gym and training that overhead press. You know, 1 week it'll be like 6 reps, and the next week it'll be 7. The next week after that it can be 8 or maybe 9, and the next week after that I can hit 10. And once I hit 10, then I go to like 125, and then do this, and then the cycle repeats. And that's pretty much how I'm increasing my strength on specific exercises. It's not really a bodybuilding thing. It's more so of like a structural integrity kind of thing, right? I have the physique that I have because of the methodology of how I train. And what my values are, right? So I value back thickness. I want my back to be thick. I want my yoke to be strong. I want my shoulders to be healthy, and I want my glutes to be really stable, and I want my hips to be really adapted to the bottom position of a squat. These little things. And I want my grip to have crazy endurance on my grip. So I want to be able to hang from the bar doing pull-ups for however long it takes. I could just hang out there, right? Like that rock climber's grip. Your goals can be different. It doesn't really matter what your goals are, but you just identify the particular things that you want to excel at as far as your physical capability, and then you just train to really target those things. That's essentially how I build out my training plans. All right. So doing this max effort, this guarantees results, but max effort and max recovery, you do that, you guarantee results. But the primary driver of muscle growth is going to be the way that you train and how well you recover. Your training session is going to be a fight. This workout, I had burned like 1,500 calories by the end of the workout. My heart rate was crazy elevated. The intensity was so high. By like 10:20 in the morning, and my workout's only like 30 minutes. So I actually started my training session at like 9:50, and I finished at like 10:20 or something like that. And when I started the workout, maybe it was like 800 some calories, maybe a little bit before that. And by the end of the workout, it was like 1,500 calories burned. So I ended up burning, by the time I got home, I mean, my caloric burn was already like 1,600 or something like that before noon, right? So right now, it's like, right now, my caloric burn is 2,473. So by the end of the night, it's probably going to be somewhere around like 2,700, maybe somewhere around there. And that kind of intensity, it requires a lot of recovery, right? So you got to be patient. Treat yourself with love and care, right? But then when it's time to train, it's vicious. Let me catch up with some of y'all in these comments here. Which muscles do you work to give a natural butt lift? Hamstrings, glute maximus, glute medius. As far as exercise selection, I'm probably going to say, generally speaking, any single leg exercise, this is really going to do it for you. So like hip bridges, Bulgarian split squats, deadlifts. But you know, when you really develop your hamstrings and you develop like your single leg stability, that's gonna develop more of your give you more of a well-rounded booty meat organization, right? That's how you get the nice well-rounded and balanced stable booty meat, right? What we call glutes. That's right. It's all about glutes, folks. The glute is a funny word. The gluteus. The gluteus maximus. That's a funny word. Can you list the equipment you use in these videos and the brands? Let's see. I don't remember the brand of the resistance bands. I got them on Amazon. I have them listed for tribe members on the site. I forgot the brand though. I think it's called Rubber Bandits or something like that. The ankle cuffs, I don't remember the name of the ankle cuffs. I got them years ago. I'd have to go and dig those up. I'm gonna have to do it. Matter of fact, I'll do another stream where I'll do like my product review, because I'm going to be doing more training reviews and whatnot moving forward to talk about like what I train with and what I'm using, all that kind of stuff. I'm 43-year-old female. Can I build muscle training 3 times a week and eating around 2,000 calories a day? Low fat, high carb, moderate protein. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. 3 times a week? Yes, you can. But eating 2,000 calories a day, it depends on what your lean mass is and how much muscle mass development you have. So generally speaking, I would say generally 2,000 calories is enough. You may need more in certain circumstances, depending on what your total lifestyle looks like and what your needs are as far as nutrition. What kind of bar are you using with the bands? Yeah, that is, matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I might put a link to it. In the description of this video. I think that's what I'm going to do. If I can find it, I'm going to have to look for it. I'm going to have to look for it in my shopping list. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Let me see if I can find it for y'all. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. Man, how long ago did I get this thing? Ugh. All right, hold on. I gotta dig them up. That's when I'm gonna put the link to. I'm gonna put the link to the bar. I gotta find it. But here's what I will do. I'm gonna show y'all right quick. Hold on. Share screen. All right. So these are the bands that I was using in this video. So it's this functional fitness bands. That's what I got. These basically are like, people get like rubber bands on like Alibaba, and they get them in bulk. So yeah, it's these. The whole set is like $78 now apparently. So they really jacked up the price since then. But I ordered the bands like kind of one by one. So you can get the full set, or you can order each one individually. That's kind of how they are. Or at least that's how they are now. So they've changed this though since I've last looked on here. But yeah, essentially I just get the bands. I've been getting the bands on. I want to have my own set of bands, my own resistance bands. I'm gonna have the Tribe by Noir bands. That's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, I got those on Amazon. Yeah. Where's that barbell? I had that barbell. The bar that you connect the bands to. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Is this it? Yeah, this is it here. Hold on. All right. Let me share my screen again. All right. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, this is the band. By the way, doing back squats with this is like impossible. That's not gonna work. But yeah, this is the band. This is the bar. Excuse me. That's the bar I was using. It's this one here. Yeah, this band. It's a well-crafted bar. I like it. So yes, it's a $72 bar. But yeah, this is the one I've been using. What is this? The Dasking detachable. I'll put links to the bar in the description if y'all want to get those. If y'all want to get that. All right. All right, let me see. Let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. Late but present, my man Jay Short. Yeah, so the thing too is about, and I gotta look for a mat, because you said a type of mat. I gotta look into that because I don't know what they have over there by you, where you're at. So I might have to. I'll send you some links for what I find as far as particular mats. Let's see. I like the bands, especially the different strengths. True. I'm a big fan of training with resistance bands. That's like one of my greatest things I've ever done. Oh my God. It's such an effective training tool. People have no idea. Wow, look at that back. Didn't even know there was that many muscles in our backs. Turtle power. Yeah, I was on TMNT time. Yeah. Can you do a deep dive on building muscle versus and connective tissue? Oh, that's an interesting topic to talk about. We can get deep in that. Connective tissue, right? Because people are getting all kind of joint injuries because they do too much. People just be out here doing the most. Show us how a live group online workout. I'm in. I might do that for tribe members, right? So I have like I might actually go live during my workout and do that. That's going to be very distracting. I got to figure out how to do that because when I get in the zone of my workout, I don't want to be putzing around with stuff. That's why I don't particularly like recording my workouts, setting up a camera and then being in the shot. And I do it because it's valuable for these streams. And if I want to show y'all certain things. But yeah, it does make things take a little bit longer. Do I also wider Pilates recovery workouts? Do you also wider? I don't know. I don't do Pilates, no, if that's what you mean. No. Oh, power yoga. Is power yoga considered recovery? Yoga is good for recovery, actually. It can be. If you do it aggressive enough, it may not be. But recovery. Yeah, for recovery, it can stretching, mobility exercises in general contribute to blood flow, oxygenation. It can improve the recovery process. Yeah, absolutely. Miss Smart Girl, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Thanks for sharing how important it is to be patient and consistent when transforming the body and building muscle. True. Big shout out to you. Good to see you tuning in here. I love Planet Fitness. I don't think I've ever worked out at a Planet Fitness before. Planet Fitness was a meme for a while. It's 3 sets of 12 pyramid down 3 times, so heavy to light. Is that too much? I don't think all of that. You can do it. When you say it's 3 sets of 12 pyramid down, I don't know what that particularly means. Like 3 sets, and then you reduce you do 3 sets going up in weight, and then you do 3 sets coming down in weight. That's a lot of training volume. I don't know if that's really necessary to do. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if it's worth the time for me to do that. Do you believe you have to be in a caloric surplus to put on muscle mass? If you are in a caloric surplus, it should primarily be on training days around 5 to 10% roughly. But you don't really need to be that much in a surplus, especially if your body fat's high. How do you know when recovery is over? So basically when your motivation is at its peak level after your first rest day, if you want to guarantee that you're ready to train again at your optimal peak performance, give yourself 48 hours. You can train every other day too. You can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It depends on your training split though. So you can do a push day, a pull day, and then a leg day. And you can do that and you can train 3 days a week. If you're doing full body, then you may want to take 2 to 3 days in between. Or if you're doing an upper lower split, you may want to do 2 days in between. So the more muscle groups you add and the more stimulus you add to your nervous system, that's when you want to give yourself more rest days. Yeah, talking about green juice and stuff in the comments. What's a good daily meal for me? A daily meal. A good daily meal is a whole cantaloupe. That's probably something I would eat daily, unless like my cantaloupe's not ripe. Like now, I gotta wait. It's the same here, and I was stronger than I imagined. Yeah, I mean, you gotta practice some self-love. I'm on an omnivore bodybuilder and power lifter, but I still enjoy your content. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. That's right. That's right. Keisha, she's like, I'm checking in. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Which muscles do you work to give a... Oh, I answered that already. To give a natural butt lift. Okay. That's right. Miss Dominique, you said you have them? There you go. That's right. Break dancing is a good workout. You may not build much muscle from it, I don't think, but it definitely is fun, that's for sure. Hey, my favorite nutritionist. Callie girl, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Yeah. Oh, was it? Oh, right. Well, you got a latex allergy, right? Because the allergy is a latex allergy. Yeah. I gotta figure, like, if I have my own resistance band line, I gotta see if I can get them like latex free or whatever. How that works. I want to learn how to properly use bands. Yeah, I mean, Oh, I should talk about that because I have training plans up for my tribe members. If you join the 12-week mentorship, you get access to my training plans with video tutorials and all of that on how to train. Do you believe you have to be in a caloric? Oh, wait a minute. I answered that already. At what point will you lose mass on a cut? You're more likely to lose muscle mass on a cut if you're in a very steep caloric deficit over a very prolonged period of time, and sleeping poorly. And you're training too frequently. You training too frequently will actually cause you to lose muscle mass. Let's see. Oh, just answer the first question. So in a slight deficit, you can still... Yeah, in a slight deficit, you can still build muscle. Because you can have a protein surplus while maintaining a slight caloric deficit. Yeah. Is it better for women to use bands for lean muscle rather than weights? I don't know if it's better. More convenient. Yeah. I don't know if it's better, but definitely more convenient. Yeah. I'm 3 weeks into the tribe meal plan and workouts. Couldn't believe my energy during workouts. That's what I'm talking about. Tribe represent. By the way, Gerard, are you on the schedule? Hold on a second. Let me check to see if you're on the schedule for this week. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta get on the schedule, brother. Go get into your plan and book that call. We gotta get a progress report. That's right. My man, big time. All right. What else did I want to cover tonight? That's right. Get on that schedule, because you know it fills up fast. The schedule will fill up fast, let me tell you. All right, are we good? Do I got to get to any more questions tonight? There's another video too that I wanted to do. I got to do a video review. I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to have to save that for another time. There's a lot of things I got planned to talk about on streams and stuff. But I don't want to keep y'all up here all night. That's right. All right. So yeah, I answered all of y'all questions. We good. We know how to build muscle. We understand the assignment. Oh, by the way, put a W in the chat if you want me to do more streams going over my workouts and things like that. And training methodology. Oh, by the way, I gotta say this. I gotta say it. Oh, we see some W's popping up. There we go. Adriana, what's going on? Good to see you. You gotta check in with me. I know you was a little under the weather, so you definitely check in with me. Get on the schedule. Let me know how you're doing. I messaged you in the Discord just to check in with you. So yeah, definitely touch base with me when you can. So yeah, I will do more reviews of my workouts and what my training methodology, and talk more about my training progress. Because I have made some progress since what? I've been making progress, y'all. I've been hulking out over it. Because let me tell you, this summer I'm gonna be jacked and moist, lubricated, glistening. Okay, I'm trying to get like an endorsement for like some type of shea butter company or something. So I want to get I'm gonna start doing body butter commercials. So soft and smooth and melanated. It's gonna be like a saxophone playing in the background. I'm gonna be in a towel. Probably not gonna do that. Be all sultry and whatnot in commercials. Like, hey, time to pay the bills. Folks, if you need help with your training, nutrition, and all that type of stuff, you're trying to create a body transformation, trying to get right, book a call with me. Link is in the description of this stream. Oh, you can also join my 12-week mentorship. All right. Full diet plan layouts, diet plans for anything from high blood pressure, diabetes, mass gain, weight loss, fully raw, high raw diet plans, recipes. You want to train with bands, barbells, body weight. There's video tutorials for each exercise. All that kind of stuff, right? So if you like streams like this, you join the 12-week mentorship. There's definitely a lot more on that side, much more elaborate. And we do members only Thursday night lives with the tribe folks in that 12-week mentorship, right? So we all get on the voice chat, we get on video, we do live Q&A and all of that kind of stuff, right? So we're on the journey, we're crushing it. All right. So yeah, definitely links for that will be in the description. Well, one link for that, and then you hit that link and it'll take you to everything else. All right. And then also you can join my free newsletter through that same link. And in that newsletter, you get the notifications for when I go and do live streams like this one. All right, folks. Stay well fed, stress-free, moisturized and lubricated. Stay flexing, and I will catch y'all on the next live stream. Yeah. Catch y'all on the next one.